So, just a little background. Um, the way I was brought into to church idea was, I was my family was Roman Catholic, and then I was invited to a Calvinist church, and I sat under that preaching for a while. And when I left out to California, I wound up in an Arminian church, and I sat under that preaching for a while. And it started to dawn on me that I should pay attention to what's going on here with the doctrine because there was some discrepancies. So I decided to look at this with the most unbiased eye I could and look at both sides of the argument and look at it very, very, very carefully. And I started comparing scriptures. Now, the ideas that I had come up with had nothing to do with James Arminius or Calvin or anybody or Martin Luther. I really hadn't read them. You know what I read? I read the Bible. So I got a concordance out and I started checking. Then I started looking at all the proof texts from both sides of this argument and found out that both sides are Lordship and Lordship Calvinism and Arminianism both basically are the same thing. and I can expound upon why that all happened. But I have to tell you something. I didn't do a small little tiny Bible study about this. No, I spent months. I spent a long time with my autistic focus and looked at this heavily. I didn't joke around with this. And when I found out the ins and outs of everything, I found out the truth. And when I came to that truth, there was no denying it. I couldn't think any other way because I had studied it quite well. So if you have any questions as to why I believe what I believe, then I could possibly go back, because this was many years ago that I did this, and we can go back over it now. If you have some points that you think you're right about, I have no problem listening to them. And if you're right, you're right. But the problem is I pretty much thoroughly went over all of the arguments. And I do have a playlist. It's called Arminianism Debunked. Of course, we have millions of people making videos out there on how Calvinism is wrong and how Arminianism is wrong. And then there's all sorts of prevenient grace and, it's endless, the amount of studying that you can do on all these subjects. And without all of that, because I did so many hours of this, of videos on it, but before that, I spent, hour after hour after hour. One of the biggest things, one of the most glaring things out there is the idea that the Jews are the chosen race, and that the idea that the church is the chosen people, because the word church is ecclesia, means chosen. It's funny, every time you see the word church, it's the chosen. But besides the point, it got to the point where I saw clearly that at first it looked like, one or the other could be right, because there was proof texts in both directions, and until you really took everything out and put it in its context, you really didn't see. So it really did take some time to clarify which position was right and which was wrong. And I said a Lordship Calvinist was wrong because it's works salvation. I believe in free grace. But I do believe how many points of tulip do you know, right? Well, I can go into all of that. It's been a debate for a long time. I didn't think it necessary so much because, you know what? It's a subject that has been gone over a lot. But the truth is that I went over it so much that I might have some insights that you might not ever saw before. So if you really want to know what I think and why I think it, and if you can change my mind, that's fine. But in the meantime, if you want to go over my video, that video is fine. I really don't want to go over any more videos. I've seen so many videos on it that I don't feel like making any more. But if you want to talk to me about it, I can go back and I can start to give you the reasons why I disagree with your proofs. But in the meantime, I'd like to not make people angry. I want people to be civil, and I want people to respect one another. And if people are bitter about what other people believe, that's a sin. God bless.